This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 147, Overcoming eBook Anxiety. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is November 5th, 2015. Hello, or as we say in Texas, howdy, and thank you for joining us today for our latest episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Just a reminder, we are live on iTunes and on Stitcher and soon to be on Google Play Music. Coming up about that here in a bit. So if you are listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. Also, if you want to learn more about content marketing, I invite you to download our free audio, 5 Things You Must Know About Content Marketing. To get your copy, go to contentmarketingaudio.com. I've got a couple of shout outs today. I want to say welcome to Brian Hughes. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, you may remember that Brian's post, 4 Secrets to Better Interactive Social Media Content, was our featured content hit of the week. Well, Brian tweeted a very nice thank you for mentioning his article, and he also mentioned how much he enjoys the podcast, and he even included the happy little hashtag, you rock. So, Brian, we are thrilled to have you in our happy little community. Also, thanks to my friend Orlando from Puerto Rico. You may recall we've mentioned him before. He is the host of the podcast, and Orlando, I'm going to try this again. Hablando de tecnología. How'd I do? Orlando contacted me and pointed out, I'm going to make a long story short, he pointed out a technical issue that we were having with the audio, and I had noticed it before, but hadn't really looked into it. Well, in the meantime, I had purchased some brand new audio equipment. In fact, if it sounds a little different this week, that's why. And so basically by pointing out that issue, Orlando inspired me to use this brand new equipment that I had bought but not set up. So today I'm recording on my brand new, what is this? This is the Zoom H4n handy recorder and my Audio-Technica 2100 microphone. So Orlando, thank you for getting my rear end moving on on starting to use this equipment. And lo and behold, the audio issue is gone. Okay, last week we talked about a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is introverts. Specifically, we talked about why introverts make kick-ass content marketers. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or on Stitcher or via the RSS feed. This month, we are turning our attention to ebooks. We're going to be talking about ebooks all month long, and today we're talking about overcoming ebook anxiety. But first, let's check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Okay, first up on the news feed is some really exciting news for my fellow podcasters. So Orlando, make sure you're listening. Google Play Music is going to start supporting podcasts. So if you're a podcaster and your audience includes a large number of Android users, this is going to be really, really good news. Google Play Music is launching a portal for podcasters to start uploading their shows to Google Play Music before they open up the service to listeners. So it hasn't been launched to listeners yet, but podcasters can go ahead and sign up to be listed. So I've submitted the Content Marketing Podcast, and it's pretty darned easy. It's a really quick form. You basically just need to paste in the RSS feed for your podcast, and it will go in and pick up the description, pick up the thumbnail image. It'll pick all that up from your RSS feed. And I think I just did this yesterday, so it's still pending approval. No, I get that. I take that back. I got an email this morning saying that the Content Marketing Podcast has been approved. So it's a pretty quick process. And if you're a podcaster, I highly recommend it. To submit your podcast, you're going to want to go to g.co/ Podcast Portal. That's g.co/podcast portal. And I look forward to seeing you soon on Google Play Music. Exciting stuff. Okay, some news about Snapchat. Remember Snapchat? It made quite a splash when it first came on the scene, and it's been around. I have to confess, I have not learned much about it, but I recently saw Spreaker present on it at an AMA event, so I'm slowly learning more about it. Anyway, Snapchat, of course, sharing video is one of the things that you can do there, and they've introduced a new set of filters called speed modifiers for videos that you shoot using your iOS or your Android device, and it lets you add slow motion, fast forward, or rewind effects to your video. So pretty neat features out of Snapchat. Also, speaking of video, we've got some news from Blab. Now, you may have heard us talk about Blab a couple of times. It is a fairly new, maybe a couple of months old, a fairly new live chat app where you can have up to 4 presenters, and then people can attend the live Blabcast. the live broadcast, just like they can with something like Periscope, but the difference is you can have up to 4 presenters at one time. Well, you can now embed live blabs on your website. So if let's say you're hosting a panel discussion on a particular topic, you can actually embed that live presentation in a page on your website so that your audience can watch it without ever leaving your website. And you can even use the embed function if you blog on Medium or on Tumblr. So really good news for folks using Blab. Okay, our content hit of the week is called How to Put the Top 18 2015 B2B Content Marketing Trends to Work for You Before Year End. Wow, that is a mouthful of a title, and it's really, really good content. This is a 2-part post written by Bill Schick over on the Mesh Agency blog. It's a terrific summary of the biggest trends in B2B content marketing in 2015. Things like, live video, real-time marketing, just about every big trend that has come up over the year they've managed to capture. And they share some advice on how you can tap into those trends between now and the end of the year. As I mentioned, it's a 2-part post, so I'm doing a link to part 1. I will share that in the blog post for this episode. And then once you're done with that, then they will have a link for you to take in part 2. Good stuff from Bill Schick on the Mesh Agency blog. That's it for this week's update. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please shoot it on over to us so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, Overcoming eBook Anxiety. As I mentioned earlier, this month we are talking about ebooks. And there's a very specific reason we have chosen the month of November to focus on ebooks. Specifically, we're coming up on the end of the year. I know, crazy, right? I don't know where 2015 went, but lo and behold, we got 2 months left. And as we come closer to the holidays, this becomes a slower period of the year for a lot of people. I know, especially in the B2B world, you've got a lot of people traveling for the holidays, people taking that PTO, that personal time off before it expires at the end of the year. It turned out to be a very slow time for a lot of businesses. So it is the perfect time to buckle down and create some ebooks. So that's going to be our focus all month long. And I got to tell you, folks, every piece of advice I'm sharing with you, I need myself because I am woefully behind on my ebook publication. So I'm going to be taking this journey right along with you. So today I want to talk about a situation that often comes up. So I'll be talking to a marketer. They'll be saying something like, we're ready to take our content marketing to the next level. Or they might be saying, we're having a hard time getting more people to sign up for our e-newsletter. And usually as that conversation progresses, I will bring up, have you thought about offering an ebook? And I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten just deer in the headlights look when I bring up publishing ebooks. And I'm going to share some of those worries, some of those anxieties with you, because I think there are a lot of ideas that hold people back when it comes to publishing ebooks. the first thing that they share with me is that, oh, wow, that's going to take months and months to put together. Now, when we think about creating an ebook, there's a tendency to think we are starting with tabula rasa, starting from ground zero, absolutely nothing to build on. We got to lay that slab foundation and, build everything from scratch. But here's the deal. You already have, if you have been taking this content marketing journey, you already have tons of content. You already have a lot of blog posts. You've got your email content. You've got videos. You've got podcasts. You've got webinar. If you've been at this for a while, you have more than enough raw content to create an ebook on just about any topic that's of interest to your audience. And it's just a matter of putting it together. For video and audio, you can very easily get transcriptions made of all, and webinars as well. If you have those recorded, you can get those transcriptions made and pull together all your written content. And then it's just a matter of gathering it, kind of sifting through it, and reformatting it into an ebook format. And when I say that, people are like, well, that's cheating, right? No, it's really not. You may have heard of Seth Godin, who is a very big marketing guru. And when Seth publishes a book, the way he knows it's time to publish a book is he has a whole bunch of blog posts. And he just literally gathers up those blog posts and publishes them as a book. So just because you've already shared an idea in a blog post or a podcast does not mean that that idea cannot have new life as part of an ebook. I've been preaching repurposing since day one, and it's something that we all need to latch onto because, if you use a blog post that was published 2 years ago, well, it's probably not getting a whole lot of traffic. So dust it off, give it some new life, shine it up, whatever you have to do, and pull that content together. And that is going to that's going to be 80% of your work done right there. You're going to have that content for your ebook before you know it. Another objection that I hear, another concern is that, well, my team just doesn't have time for it. We don't have time. And that concept of not having time, first of all, it's an illusion. I mean, everybody has time. Everybody has 24 hours. The question is, how do we allocate that time? So if your team doesn't have time for it, either the higher management does not see the value in what you're doing, or you're and I'm guilty of this myself. When you procrastinate, I like to say procrastination. It's a 5-syllable word for fear. Because once you create an ebook, then that ebook will be published on your website. And once it's published, people can review it and comment on it. And not everybody's going to like that. Going to like what you put out there. And it's scary. It is scary. It's with a blog post, it's a little bit perceived as a bit of a lower risk. But, putting out an ebook, you are saying, I am an authority on this issue. And for a lot of people, that's scary. And that's, like I said, I'm right there with you. So, so whatever that reason is for being too busy, see what you can do. Treat it like you would any project. Treat it like you would like a product launch or something major that you need to just put your resources into, get it done, and get it out there. Another objection, another worry that I hear is, oh, we're not book authors. Ebooks, that's for book authors. We're just marketers. You already are an author. Your team, you already write blog posts. You already write email content. You create presentations for SlideShare. You write video scripts. You conduct webinars. You already are an author. So an ebook is just a longer form version of what you've already been doing. So, the people who publish ebooks are not a different breed from those of us who are in the trenches publishing blog posts and podcasts every week. It's the same thing. It's just a longer format. So if you have any anxiety about not being a book author, you can just forget that. From a technical standpoint, I've heard this too. Well, not everybody has a Kindle. Not everybody has an ebook reader. When you publish an ebook on your website for download, what you're going to do is you're going to release that as a PDF. So they can download that PDF and read it on a computer, on a tablet, on a smartphone, just about any device that can read PDFs. Now, if you want to go ahead and offer it on Amazon, then that's going to be some extra formatting steps. In fact, my friend Kevin Tumlinson later this month is going to share a guest post for us about getting your book featured on Amazon. But if you're thinking that only people who have a Kindle or who have a dedicated device are going to be able to read that ebook, that is just not true. It's just going to be another PDF, just like something you might send in an email that they can read on just about any device. So, and I want to go back to the no time. I jumped the gun a little bit on that one. You know, our team is just too busy to get this done. Outsourcing is always an option. And sometimes, you know, again with the cheating thing, people think if they bring in an outside agency, such as Resonance, for example, that they're somehow cheating. And absolutely not. You know, outsourcing is smart business for things you can outsource. Now you need to find the right partner and you need to make sure that you stay involved in the process, but you can easily get in touch with an agency that you feel comfortable with. They can review your existing content. They can do research or do interviews to fill in any gaps that you might have and produce a wonderful ebook that, for all intents and purposes, looks like something you created yourself. So always keep outsourcing in mind. And if you'd like to talk to me about outsourcing, I would be happy to hear from you. This is something that I hear. Nobody has time to read ebooks. Sometimes people say, wow, my audience is just so busy. If I put out an ebook, they're not going to read it. And I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't matter. It's going to sound crass, but I'm going to say it anyway. Even if no one reads your ebook ever, it can still deliver results. I'm going to give you an example. I was interviewing a few weeks ago Joe Polizzi about his book, and we were talking about kind of content overload and how there's way more content out there in the universe than there are hours in the day to consume it. And he said, Rachel, let me ask you, what's the best-selling book in history? I said, well, I've heard from multiple sources that the Bible, the Christian Bible, is the most popular, most often purchased book in history. And he said, great. How many people have read it? And that really got me to thinking, you know, millions of people have bought the Bible. And when you think about how many people have actually read it, probably a surprisingly small percentage. I don't have details, but it really got me to thinking about how a book can deliver value even if it's not read. I mean, I have downloaded hundreds of ebooks over my time. I'll see something that's like a great topic and I'll download that and I'll read it. And it stays on my desktop on my computer. And I've got ebooks that have been sitting there for a long time. But that doesn't mean it's not delivering results. So if you put an ebook out there and if someone downloads that ebook and includes an opt-in for your e-newsletter, it doesn't matter what they do or don't do with that ebook. And the point is that, you know, they've gotten, number one, you've got them on your list, you've got them in your funnel, and number two, they have seen that you have published an ebook, and in a lot of people's minds, I would say in most people's minds, that kind of ups your thought leadership level. That gives you extra thought leadership points. They say, wow, this person knows enough about this topic to fill an ebook. I'm going to download it. So if you're having anxiety about whether people are going to read your ebook, don't worry about it. And to that point, you can format your book to speak to the needs of busy audiences. If they don't have time to sit down and read word for word, you can do chapter recaps. You can call out tips. You can integrate charts and infographics to make it a little bit more digestible. So if you have a busy audience, there are definitely some tricks in formatting your ebook that can speak to their needs, and you're going to serve them better in the process. So that is my take on overcoming ebook anxiety. And if you have anxieties that are holding you back that I haven't mentioned here, please do let me know. I'll be happy to talk you through those. So that all being said, here is my challenge, and I'm going to be participating in this right along with you. My challenge to you is to create at least one ebook between now and November 30th. So it's kind of 30-day challenge. We're a couple of days into the month, but it is totally doable. It's totally doable, folks. You can create one ebook between now and November 30th. Now, keep in mind, just because you create it now doesn't mean you have to publish it now. You can, in theory, you can take this time between now and the end of the year to create 4 ebooks and then gradually feed them out next year. You can do 1 ebook a quarter and have completed all the work in December. So this is totally doable. This is totally doable. I am here to help if you need it. And as you said, I'm going to be doing an ebook of my own that I have committed to get done by November 30th. So if you have any questions about overcoming ebook anxiety or about our little 30-day challenge, or if you want to add to the conversation, I would love to hear from you, and I will give that contact info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. For today's tip, I want to talk about archiving your content. We've been talking a lot about repurposing, and I mentioned that a few minutes ago. Your ebook, you pull together that related content. That is tough to do if you don't really have a handle on what you already have content-wise. So what you really need is an organized index library, in other words, an archive that you can easily tap into, that you can go to and say, okay, show me all the content about blogging, just to cite an example, and be able to pull up everything that you have published about blogging. This is something that I am actually doing right now. Okay, my wonderful assistant is helping me corral all this content that I've put together. I mean, I've got several hundred blog posts. I'm coming up on 150 podcasts. I've got webinars. I've got SlideShare presentations. I mean, I've got a ton of content, but it's all in different places, and I really don't have a single place that brings it all together. So that is what we are doing, gathering all that content in one place. And once you have it in one place and it's tagged and it's usable, then you can use that to create all kinds of different things. Ebooks, white papers, audio resources, videos. I mean, the possibilities are endless. So, if I want to, once that archive is in place, if I want to create an ebook on any given topic, I can instantly access everything that I've already produced on that topic. So that's going to make things much easier for me, and archiving content will make things much easier for you and your team. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. If you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher and soon to be Google Play Music, or you can subscribe to our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. I would so appreciate it. Also, if you want to learn more about content marketing, I invite you to download our free audio, 5 Things You Must Know About Content Marketing. To get your copy, go to contentmarketingaudio.com. As always, I'd like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky. He once said, quote, "Inspiration is a guest that does not willingly visit the lazy," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Take care.